If your teacher ever caught you raising seed capital in grade school, or your friends ever staged an intervention because of your addiction to innovative business models and sweat equity, David Campbell feels your pain. You're probably suffering from what he likes to call a Type E personality. David's own Type E personality drove him to found wildly successful ventures in audio recording, consumer electronics, business data services, cable broadcast transmission, telephony, and merchant banking. And he writes about it all in his new book, The Way of the Entrepreneur. Do you really need an MBA? David is one of Canada's greatest and most prolific entrepreneurs, and from his early days selling scribblers to grade school classmates, he's been building great companies and making no apologies for his Type E personality. Welcome to Mars. Thanks for coming down, sitting down with us.
Thank you.
You know, I had a great read of your book. It was thoroughly marvelous. The one thing that you keep doing in the book is identifying an E-type personality.
That's right.
So what exactly for our viewers is a Type E personality?
Well, if you look in as you read through the beginning, I think I identify the obvious, the A type personality and the B type personality that everybody knows about.
Yeah.
But I said there's another one, and that's the E type personality, which is the entrepreneur.
So what is it about the Type E personality? Is it an ability to take risks?
Well, you have to take risks. In fact, on our walls in our various offices, we have various sayings. For example, no risk, no reward.
Right.
Right. And it's true because, but you must take a risk with caution.
Okay. And how do you balance that? How do you know when enough
well,
risk,
you have to ask
caution?
yourself several questions. For example, because I've done what I've done, we get approached by many groups and many people to do funding for new projects.
Yeah.
And if we feel comfortable with a project, and I must just stop for a moment and tell you that what happens sometimes, that every time anybody ever comes to us, inevitably they start off saying, we need $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, when somebody comes to me, I say, before you start, you need $2 million, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but really, you don't need money at first, but you really need some money, of course.
Well, you started with $2,000.
I started with $2,000.
Begged, borrowed, you
That's
didn't
right.
steal. But
that's right.
One of the questions you pose in your book is whether you really need an MBA.
Yeah.
And you talk about the Type E personality not being MBA oriented. Do you mean to say you can't teach someone to be a Type E personality?
I think the degree is not important. It's the people who take it and what they do with it. Because, and I've taken many courses.
Yeah.
And I have come to the conclusion that in most of those courses, the focus is, it almost makes you risk adverse.
Mm-hmm.
Because they scare the living daylights out of you. And they tell you the EBITDA, and they tell you the losses and the possible dangers and so forth. But they don't emphasize what the good things that can happen. If you're an entrepreneur and you have a mild success, it is the most wonderful feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Because you can look in the mirror the next morning and say, I did it myself. You are really not aware of the dangers. You can lose. But somebody who takes an MBA course knows he can lose. An entrepreneur doesn't know he can lose.
So it's a bit of function of both the degree, because it sort of teaches the entrepreneurship out of you.
It does.
By making, yeah.
It does, really. It makes you risk adverse. I think that's the best way I could put it.
I can certainly see that in many of the people I teach. They aren't results oriented either, for the most part. They're very process oriented.
And I'll tell you what else they're worried about. In today's society, they're worried about the pension plans, the stock options, and all this nonsense. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we start a new company and I interview people. And invariably, the second question they ask is, what's your stock option plan?
Yeah.
So I said, wait a minute, let's make a buck first,
yeah.
Right? And then we'll talk about splitting it,
yeah.
Right?
So, I mean, you mentioned there you take all sorts of different courses. So obviously you recognize that a Type E personality and entrepreneur needs some sort of education about what they're doing.
Well, they need guidance, there's no question.
And so was that to you the formal guidance that you had, these courses?
They helped, but one of the other things that helped the most, I think, is mentorship.
Now, you started as an entrepreneur in elementary school, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I started selling scribblers to the kids in school.
And that's one thing I noticed. you moved on to newspaper routes.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you look at Warren Buffett and all sorts of well-known entrepreneurs, they all had this thing in common, that they started their entrepreneurship at a very, very young age. And so I'm wondering if that's part of the entrepreneur's personality.
Well, I always say I was born this way, but I don't know. I don't really know, except that I like to be innovative. I see ideas. I want to pursue them. I don't know why.
Did you learn that because you needed to make $1 a week to go to school?
The first thing an entrepreneur has to consider is there is a need, and that need is to make a living.
Yeah.
That's the first need. And the second need is you have to identify a need also that you could pursue, a product of some kind, a service of some kind that's not being met now, that it's needed. That's the second need. But in any businesses I've been in, we're always looking behind us to see who's trying to knock us off the perch. We're also looking forward to try and be new and different so that nobody can knock us off that way.
So for the entrepreneur, for someone who does have a type E personality, what's the best advice you can give them about being successful?
Well, the first thing you do, you have to find a unique niche. Something new, novel, different, that's never been done before. And you have to pursue it. And you have to abandon things quickly if it's not working.
Take your risks, understand them, get in, get out quickly if you have to.
I have in my house, by the way, and I'm trying to get a picture of it. I have a picture of a man with a beard sitting in front of 2 balloons hanging in the air with a paddle. He's paddling in the air. And that happens to be, I'm trying to get a picture of it because I want to put it on my new business cards with no risk, no reward.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.